the Malthouse demon was a different demon. It was part of, but it isn't related to Valak. So Valak was a different demon, and Malthouse, which was
Which possess an avatar.
was a different demon.
Okay.
Hey guys, welcome back to the BDV Bros. I am Viper, the V in the BDV. Okay, so today what we're gonna do is we're gonna react on a horror video. It's not a scene of a horror movie, but it is a story of a horror movie. So I don't love horror movies, but I like to watch them because they are fun and it keeps my thinking mind alive. So I get a little bit scared, but it's fine with me. So today I'm gonna react, but I won't be alone. So I have a friend with me right here. So here is my friend. His
Hello,
name
guys.
is Vedant. You must probably know him. So Vedant, how do you like horror movies?
But I like your intro. So horror movies, yeah, I like horror movies. Yeah, I love them watching also. Like I'm recently addicted to them.
Any of your favorite horror movies?
Yeah, Insidious, recommended by you.
Of course, because Insidious 5 is coming out, the Red Door, so I told him to watch, so I could watch him with it, because I can't watch a horror movie alone at a theater. So, and none of my other friends are willing to watch, so he's here with me. So, any of your horror stories you have?
No,
Any personal horror stories? So I have a horror story I'll share. So I remember I was at a friend's house, and we were living there for a night stay. So we were 6 of us, and it was an IPL season in India, the cricket season. So we watched the match, and it got a little late, like 12 o'clock. And cause we were young, it was like probably 5-6 years back. So
Sixth standard, I guess.
No,
Sixth or seventh?
no, eighth grade, when I was in eighth standard. So seventh or eighth grade.
Yeah.
And so we were like young. So what we did was we played WWE, and we just enjoyed ourselves and all. So we finished playing till like 2 o'clock, 2:30. So now a horror mind started working up. So we decided, we just all shut the lights off. We just went to bed. We were 5 of we were small, so we fitted one bed. The bed was big enough, so we fitted on
We
the
were
bed.
small enough.
Yes, we were small enough. So we fitted on the bed, and we just switched the light off, and we talked because we couldn't sleep luggage. So we talked, and 2:30 के 3 बज गए. So 3 बज गए, and फिर a friend of mine said कि now just forget about ghost talks, horror movie talks, cause now the horror now ghost come alive at mostly 3 a.m. So we decided we won't talk anything. So that moment we were just talking that just don't think of ghost, think of any other topic, don't talk of ghost. And that moment, so what happened, the if that house, the door was the doorknob wala hole. So achanak the doorknob just clicked and it opened. We heard a sound of the doorknob opening, and everyone went silent, and the door opened. And the door opened, and the friend's house we were living, the friend, his father was there. He was just looking key, did everyone sleep or not? And we were just silent, and he could hear, I think he could hear the noise inside. So he just asked, are you asleep? And the friend and another friend just replied that yes, we are asleep. So that happened, but that isn't the story. So then we just went to sleep like 10-15 minutes later. I remember it was 3:35 a.m. because I had my watch on, and I couldn't sleep at all. I can't sleep at night out, so I couldn't sleep at all. I had to use the washroom, so I just woke up from the bed and I went to the washroom. But I couldn't go to the washroom. So I just waited. So it was I was getting sweaty and all. So many log on the bed. So I decided to go for a walk.
Perfect horror situation.
I decided to go for a walk outside, like the room ke bahar there was a corridor and all this big house. So just outside the room there was a sofa. There was a single sofa, and I was on the sofa, and I didn't have any mobile phone at that time or anything. So I sat on the mobile sofa, and it was 3:30, of course. So I fell asleep. I fell asleep, and I don't know, suddenly there was a hand on my shoulder. And there was a hand on my shoulder, and I just woke up, and there was someone in a very elderly voice, just a female elderly voice, just saying my name. So I just got shocked, and I couldn't say a word. I was just like, and then the friend who was living at his house, his grandmother was there, and she was like, you didn't sleep, or you're not sleeping. I said I can't sleep and all, and I couldn't speak. I was just nodding my head. I was doing anything, but I was shocked. So, and then I went to the hall, living room. I went there. I slept there till the morning, and that was it. So
it is already 1:17. So it is already late. 1:17.
Hey, now it's fine. Now though, sometimes it takes, like, I sleep sometimes at 3 after watching football matches. So it is.
Yeah, now you're.
Now it's आदत हो गई है. अभी आदत हो गया. अभी कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. तो अभी कुछ ये नहीं है, तो अभी ठीक हो जाता है. अभी इतना डर नहीं लगता. अभी I watch sometimes horror movies till 2:30 now at home. So now अभी, but that when we were little years earlier,
it is like असर ही नहीं होता अभी.
हाँ, अभी फर्क नहीं. जब ठीक है, थोड़ा डर लगता है, पर वो एट मोमेंट के लिए, फिर बाद में शांत हो जाता है
कि हाँ मूवी देख रहे तो हाँ कुछ तो लगता है, पर ठीक है.
तो I hope you have watched the Nun movie.
Yes.
So what we're gonna react to is the backstory, the story of the nun, demon of the nun, the Valak. So the video is made by Caesar's World. You definitely watch that if you are a horror movie fan. I definitely recommend it. His content is great, and the link will be down in the description. Please do watch. So let's go for the reaction. So let's start the video reaction. Okay.
The origin of Valak, the most feared demon in the Controverse lore to date, we must look to the legends passed down in one small town in Romania. The tales tell of a duke in the Dark Ages, which puts us somewhere between 500 and 1000 CE. He built a great castle, which would later be known as the Abbey of St. Carda. Hidden in the dungeons was a summoning ground, carved with the serpentine symbol of a mythical being known as Valak. The people in town feared the duke.
The snake looks like Slytherin wala snake.
Yeah. Harry Potter.
When I saw the movie, I just got reminded of the Slytherin wala snake.
Because he wrote countless texts on witchcraft and rituals to call upon these evil forces of hell. He would eventually use these spells to open the gateway between our world and the underworld. By sacrificing 5 people as a part of his spell, the Duke would allow Valak to come through and walk amongst the living. But as Valak rose through the crevices, the church, who had caught wind of the foul things happening there, stormed the castle and interrupted the liturgy. They attempted to seal the gateway using liquid from the Holy Grail, and while this appeared to cause the portal to close back up, the seal would not last forever. To learn the secrets of Valak's past, the entity's true purpose, and what it represents for the story and the character's future, stick around to the end of this video. Welcome to Horror History. My name is Professor CZ's World, and you better pay attention this time, you little piece of shit. In today's lesson, we're going over what I consider to be the main boss of the Conjuring franchise. Like its counterpart Malthus from the Annabelle spin-offs, Valak is based on a mythological deity from the Lesser Key of Solomon, a series of grimoires on demonology. It's divided into 5 books, one of which is called Ars Goetia, a textbook guide to conjuring demons. In Annabelle, Ars Goetia was replaced with this textbook called The Devil's Welcome. But to learn about Valak, we need to turn the clock back even further and look into the pages of these mysterious texts found in a tomb just outside the Abbey of St. Carta.
Nun was the first ever film of the first ever event
Conjuring.
happened in the Conjuring.
Yeah, I know.
So I think that is the earliest we get from the Conjuring verse, the history of Valak.
So is the nun the first ghost? Or
Nun wasn't a ghost, she was a demon. Like Annabeth, a demon.
like she was captured by someone?
No, she was a demon. So you'll get to know more, but Valak was not a ghost, she was more of a demon. She was one of a demon, which another demon was the Annabeth Wala ghost, Malekith, and Valak was one of another demon. She wasn't a ghost. So
When the ancient books are discovered, we can see the outer cover of 3 of them. 2 of them have piercing yellow serpentine eyes, much like the eyes of Valak and anyone else the demon takes control of. This suggests that these books, unlike The Devil's Welcome, may specifically be about Valak. The snake eating its own tail symbol is commonly associated with Valak in the movie, but I'll come back to that shortly. In Ars Goetia, there are 72 demons said to have been commanded by the Israeli king Solomon. They range from kings, dukes, princes, marquises, knights, presidents, and earls. Valak is considered a president of hell. In the mythology, Valak looks a lot different than it does in the Conjuring movies, but there are some references to the mythological version that you may not have noticed in the movies. On one page of the book, there is a boy-like form with a snake coming out of its mouth. This is likely a reference to how Valak is depicted in the Lesser Key of Solomon, as an angelically winged boy riding on a 2-headed dragon. In the movies, Valak is a shapeshifter, whose form seems to change based on what makes its victims most uncomfortable. There's also this image. Valak is commonly associated with a snake. Serpent symbols can be found throughout the monastery, and there are multiple occasions where the demon is introduced as Valak, the defiler, the profane, the marquis of snakes. The bird is probably there to represent Malthus, an earl of hell in mythology, who you may know as the demon who's connected to the Annabelle doll. I did an entire video.
Okay, means the nun or the Valak captured the doll, that Annabelle.
No.
Then?
See, the nun was a demon, and the demon which she didn't possess Annabelle, which was inside the Annabelle doll was Malthus, which this one, we will probably see this one video also later if we get the chance, but the Malthus demon was a different demon. It was part of, but it isn't related to Valak. So Valak was a different demon, and Malthus, which was
Annabelle,
was a different demon.
Okay.
That would also leave the question of who these other 2 horned demons are, perhaps other villains that we'll meet in future Conjuring movies. On another page, you'll see a more familiar sight, the nun form of Valak, which seems to be its favorite form to use, but there may be a reason that we see the nun form so often. On the side, you'll notice another picture of a snake eating its own tail. This is known as an Ouroboros, a mark seen in many ancient cultures as a symbol for the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. We don't exactly know what Valak's endgame is, but we know that it has a strong desire to possess, as explained in the Conjuring 2. Perhaps by possessing someone and moving into a new body, Valak feels a new sense of life, and the Ouroboros is a sign of the tendency to go from body to body, creating a cycle of new demonic possessions. The text written in the book isn't legible, but Father Burke does read some of it aloud, and I am going to roll it. So roll it.
And out of the ground formed every beast of the field, and every bird of the sky, whatever the man called the living creature, that was its name. Valak.
This passage is part of the biblical text of Genesis 2:19, so I looked up the meaning of that passage and found the following. The act of naming something is meaningful in the book of Genesis. This often implies rule and responsibility over that thing. This may explain why Lorraine is eventually able to defeat Valak, but we'll get there when we get there. Now you may be thinking, this Valak guy sounds like kind of a bad dude going around and possessing people and crap. I mean, who would actually want to summon Valak? If we go back to the mythological readings of Ars Goetia, it describes the benefits of calling upon this malevolent force. He perfectly locates hidden treasure and finds where serpents may be hiding, which he delivers onto the hands of the conjurer. Valak is void of any force or strength, but has dominion over 30 legions of devils. If this holds true for the Conjuring version of Valak, it explains why the Duke of St. Carta built this fortress and tried so hard to summon Valak there. He was driven by the allure of power and riches. The book also associates a sigil, or a symbol considered to have magical power, to each of the 72 demons. If you've seen Hereditary, you may recognize the necklace as an example of this. They don't lean too hard on this in The Conjuring, but I did notice that the summoning ground inside the abbey almost seems to resemble the sigil of Valak. But upon closer inspection, the outer ring is formed by a double Ouroboros. This image can be seen in one of the other books next to a more traditional demonic form resembling a gargoyle. I've always assumed that this is Valak's true form, because it's also seen labeled as Valak on another page, and it seems to be the form used when Valak enters and eventually exits our world. That brings me back to the summoning ritual, which, as I mentioned, was thwarted by the church. They took over the castle and converted it into the abbey. The place was fully surrounded by crosses to keep the evil contained, and nuns prayed there continuously, working in shifts so that the place was constantly being blessed. Earlier, I called Valak the main boss of the Conjuring franchise, and this is why. Malthus from the Annabelle movies is considered one of the most powerful supernatural entities, but in order to keep it contained, the Warrens have a priest come twice a month to bless the room. To keep Valak contained, however, several nuns have to work together 24/7, and even this is only enough to hold the demon off for so long. One of them describes the bombs of war shaking the abbey and once again cracking open the gateway. I'm guessing that this was during World War II, and Romania was subject to air raids during that war. Romania was hit with air raids in 1943 and 1944, less than a decade before the main events of The Nun, which takes place in 1952. But ever since those bombs dropped, an unidentified nun began stalking the corridors of the abbey at night. But this nun was anything but holy. As perhaps the most powerful entity in the world of The Conjuring, with the ability to take on any form, why does Valak so often choose to become a simple nun? Why not a creepy clown, or mummy, or Coraline's mom? The answer lies in its setting.
It's something unholy. It takes on different forms to deceive us and prey on our weaknesses.
Valak uses the nun form to blend in with the order and eventually purge or corrupt each of them. This could be the reason that the nuns are generally never supposed to leave the abbey, so they cannot be a vessel for Valak's escape. It was likely just after Valak was released, but before they realized that Valak was among them and locked the place down when Sister Charlotte visited the abbey. While she doesn't personally encounter Valak, she does have kind of a close call since it seems to appear in the background of her photo. One by one, Valak picks off each of the remaining nuns until only 2 remain. They go into the dungeon area where the gateway is to try to retrieve a relic that they believe will save them. But when Valak quickly strikes down the elder of the 2, the lone survivor must give herself up so that the demonic presence does not have a vessel to escape in. Not long after, a delivery guy named Maurice, most people just call him Frenchie, discovers the remains, and word gets around to the Vatican that trouble is afoot in Romania. They send one of their best priests, Father Burke, and an inexperienced novitiate, or nun in training, named Irene Palmer to investigate. Valak watches them as they arrive, and somehow the scene of the incident is still fresh. Valak continues to haunt the premises, but the ghosts of the nuns that inhabited it still linger. So when Sister Irene and Father Burke speak to the Reverend Mother, the highest-ranking nun in the convent, I'm assuming that this is actually Valak, posing as the Reverend Mother, because the throne she's sitting on has an Ouroboros on it. She tells them that the nuns are about to take a vow of silence for the evening, but they can stay over and speak to them in the morning. This may be part of Valak's plan to try to eliminate Burke and possess Irene during the night. As Frenchie heads back to the town after escorting them, Valak uses a variety of scary forms to send him running so that he's unlikely to want to come back for them, including this thing. If we're doing spin-offs on every character that appears, we gotta do this guy. Burke is awoken by what appears to be a boy he performed a failed exorcism on years ago. When he catches up to him, a snake slithers out of the boy's mouth and comes for Burke, knocking him back into an open casket, which becomes instantly buried by Valak's magic. Next, Sister Irene is lured out of bed into the chapel, where she sees the demon's shadow circle around her until it gets to the mirror, and appears in a corporeal form behind her, but only in the reflection, before it roars at her and shatters the mirror. Valak appeared to them each in different forms because it represents that which they have yet to overcome. For Burke, he hasn't stopped feeling guilty about the child he was unable to save, so Valak appears as that child to prey on his weakness. For Irene, it appears as the nun, because she hasn't made the commitment to take her vows yet. They are each confronted by a challenge that they have yet to overcome. Irene hears a bell ringing in the graveyard, signifying that Burke had been buried alive and was using his lifeline. You should learn from his example, and when you do, make sure you hit all notifications. The next morning, they come back to speak with the nuns, not realizing that there are none remaining. And I assume that Valak is the one to open the gate for them, and probably also the one to close it that evening, locking Irene inside for another night. As Father Burke studies the map, Valak, this time posing as the abbess, tells him that he won't find another way in.
It's too late, Father. Sister Irene is lost.
This also plays into Burke's fears, because he doesn't want Sister Irene to be the latest person he was unable to save. Valak grabs him, using the same decrepit hands that attacked him while he was trapped in the coffin, and they break off and crumble on the floor. He also encounters a zombified version of the boy that's been haunting him. His demonic hands protrude from the walls. When he reaches him, he has Valak's signature yellow eyes and a forked tongue, a trait commonly associated with the devil. Burke breaks free and runs for it, probably narrowly avoiding being possessed, and when he looks back, the ancient evil has reverted to its unnerving nun form. Meanwhile, Irene awakes from a nightmare and discovers a door that's labeled Finit hic Deo, or God ends here. She too encounters Valak, who creates a turbulent windstorm in the hallway, and you already know what's coming. She gets air-yeeted across the hall, but she's rescued by the ghost of Sister Oana and joins the others in a little midnight emergency prayer sesh. This is probably a scene that took place at some point in the 1940s, just after Valak had begun coming after the lives of these nuns, and we're just seeing a slightly altered version of it that includes Sister Irene, but since I don't know that 100%, I'm keeping it here in the chronology. I'm also not really clear on if the prayers of the ghost nuns would actually help hold the seal at all, but we can at least say that them encouraging Sister Irene to pray would have some effect, because Sister Irene is real. It doesn't come without cost though, because Valak makes like that goth girl you dated in college and scratches a pentagram into her back. Burke and Frenchie team up against a reanimated version of Sister Victoria. Based on what we know from Ed and Lorraine's various lectures, this isn't a possession, because the demon would need a soul in order to possess someone, and that would defeat the purpose of Sister Victoria's sacrifice. So what's probably going on here is that Valak is just moving around her body the same way that Malthus moves around the Annabelle doll.
He was moved around to give the impression of possession.
Anyway, they catch up with Sister Irene, who finally realizes the nun she's been talking to were only an apparition.
There's no one left. We have our answer, Father. As if there was any doubt before, this place is no longer home.
Valak next encounters them in the dungeon area, beyond the door with the Latin text translating to God ends here. This area represents hell within the monastery, so it's fitting that this should be where their final battle with Valak takes place. They split up to search for the gate, because, you know, that's the best plan in a horror movie. Sister Irene enters one of the rooms, and Valak appears in the form of a, what's the word for a group of nuns? Like a horde, or a flock? Okay, I looked it up. Apparently it's called a superfluity, which was definitely not the word I was looking for, but whatever. We'll just call it a crowd of nuns. Each of them has their faces covered, and they're able to overcome Irene and possess her.
You failed. Just as you failed everyone in your life. Tomorrow, a village will be missing its idiot.
Okay. So we won't be reacting to the entire video. We will stop right here. But if you want to see the further part, please subscribe to CJ's World. The YouTube link of his channel and the video will be down in the description. So let's discuss. Okay, so that was the video. So Vedant, कैसा था video?
I like the detailing about the video, like the information given in this. Like, there's a lot of research in that. So I like the efforts.
Of course, you should watch CJ's World. His link will be down in the description. He is a great content if you love horror movies. And I know many people who love horror movies, so if you're watching it, please go watch. His link will be in description. So you have watched The Nun, right?
Yes.
So which villain would you be most scared of, the Valak or the Annabelle wala demon?
No, the Valak. For sure, Valak.
The
nun part.
The one thing I like more about the Valak than the others is that the way it possesses. Like
Yeah.
if you see the other ghost, they possess by throwing, vomiting into your mouth or something.
Yeah,
If
they
you have
go
seen-
into our minds, like they
Ah.
play with our minds.
No, the end possess, when the final possession happens,
Ah.
the ghost or demon vomits or does something, throws black stuff into your mouth, and that way you get possessed. But in the Valak, when she possesses the type you could see, it is shown in the video, a snake crawls out of a snake
Yeah.
slides out of her mouth, and then it slides into your mouth. That is more disgusting
Terrifying, yeah.
and terrifying, but it is more satisfying
Satisfying?
yeah. Ghost, the snake is more like the way it slits or डर लगता है, like vomiting is ठीक, but the way it snake is more like
Creepy.
creepy, creepy, but it's fine. So Vedant, you are the first ever one in this channel to react to it. How are you
Yes.
feeling for this?
Like, I'm proud you chose me. So thank you for that.
For now. If you want to see more of Vedant, please comment down. He will be, I hope.
Yeah, I will join. Yes,
He
for
will
sure.
join. So if that's it for today, I hope you like the video. It has gone a bit long. Like, share, subscribe, and comment down any other video, horror movie,
Yeah,
or video you
suggestions,
want
please.
you us to react, or any other game you want us to play, or anything. So comment down, we will try our best to do. So that's it for today.
Thank
I hope
you.
we meet later.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye bye.